Very good morning. Hope everyone has done breakfast. Now ready to join with me. We are good men. First question is rest not like CRUD? No. CRUD is simple four operations. CRUD are simple four operations. Voice is it happening with everyone? Or is it only with Nana? What about now, guys? Is it still breaking? Or we are good? It's still okay. Let's before that, let's check speed. Check my internet speed. So my downloading speed is right now 46 and uploading speed is near to 36. So I'm believing it should not be an internet problem. Are you guys still observing the same problem? Oh, okay, great. Now it's okay. Okay. So Subrajit was asking, is REST somewhat like CRUD? So no, Subrajit. CRUD are simple four operations: creation, retrieval, updation, deletion. These four operations we perform on data through the APIs. We perform these operations on data with the help of APIs. So these are four operations which we can do in any of the languages, like in Java or in Python or in Node.js. These are common because क्योंकि हमें data पे operations करने हैं कुछ, right? So that's why these are only four simple operations. And rest is different thing. REST is a architectural style or a design pattern जो कि हमें ये बताता है कि हमें Node.js में या फिर वेब एप्लीकेशन क्रिएट करने के लिए क्या प्रिंसिपल फॉलो करने चाहिए. So that's what the rest is design principle. CRUD are four operations. Both are totally different things. Okay, so now I think everyone has joined. We have already waited for 2 minutes, so let's start our session. Okay, so so I think yeah, today Ekta has also joined at time, so she will not miss the things. Okay, so now we'll start. So we'll start with revising the things which we have done yesterday first. I think it's not. I think we have completed 11 o'clock. I think 12 hours also didn't happen, and we have joined back. So I'm sure, like you guys still remember whatever we have discussed yesterday. So we have started with understanding the REST only. We understood that REST are some architectural pattern, which like at year 2000, somebody has introduced those REST principles, which they say that whenever we are creating any web applications, we should follow these principles, right? Then we move into the Express.js. Then we showed you some of the routing things, right? Then I told you that there are some problems with HTTP server, correct? So because those HTTP server things are not easy to manage and those are not developers friendly, so that's why we moved to Express.js, correct? And I told you that Express.js is a framework which provide you a lot of easy things to make developer life very easy, correct? So like the things which Express provides. The first one was the routing logic, where I showed you how easy we can create multiple routes. It provides you the method like dot get, dot put, dot post, and then you have to provide the routing name, and then you have the callback or controller. Correct. Then I showed you some of the concepts with the routing URL only, like the parameters I showed you. Then I showed you the query parameter. How are we going to access? And I also pushed all the code in the GitHub repo. So if you guys somewhere like not aware of the syntax, so you can check the syntax there, like request.params for accessing the simple params and request.query for accessing query parameters. Then I also showed you that we can also use regex in the regular parameters. That's part also I showed you, correct? And I think after that, I told you the next benefit of Express, that was middleware, correct? I also showed you one diagram, and that diagram was looking like this. I will just try to create that diagram again, because that diagram definitely helps a lot of things. So yeah, that diagram starts like that. These are, we can say, client request, the request coming from client side for one route. We can say the route is /user, correct? And then our server start here. This is our server, we can say. Sorry for the design, I'm not good in that art. So server is there, correct? Now we can say these requests arrive to our server. So first thing which they will interact, that will be our routes, correct? That will be our routes, where we are going to write multiple routes, /user, /about, /address with their method. And right now we can consider this is the get method. Correct? This is the get method which we are accessing for /user. So first they will interact with routes. Then after routes, I told you the first thing which they interact, that's our middleware. That is our middleware. Correct? And these there can be many middlewares which could come into the picture. There could be multiple layers of middleware. Correct? And then after middleware, we go to the main controller, where we write our logic, business logic. I am writing them as a BL, which is business logic. Okay. Then we write our business logic. Now the things which you need to remember for middleware, that middleware performs some specific task. Each middleware performs some specific task, and if that particular task is successfully performed, it passes that request to next middleware. It passes that request to next middleware, and if that task is not successfully performed, it will throw error, and that response will go back to routes, and then routes to main client. Correct? And we have already one picture of that also, where we were displaying that. So let me show you that picture also. Yeah, this one. You can see here. These are multiple middlewares, and you can see the green one is the success one. Like first from the routes, we can consider this HTTP route request is the routes, and now the request first goes to the CORS middleware, and if CORS middleware is passing it, then it's going to the CSRF, then going to the next one, and then if everything is passing, then going to main task, which we are saying as a controller, and then we are sending response back. Okay, and if somewhere it is failing in middle, we will just simply throw the error from there, and we will not go to the main task. So today I'm going to show you some example to to show you like how the middlewares are working little bit more better way. Just I will show you one example, because according to slide, uh, there is one example which was this, the serving file. Like I will show you the serving static files with the middleware example. Like to see, we have sent the response as a so like in Express we were sending the response as a JSON. So I will show you with this example, I will show you two things here. First, I will show you a little bit about the middleware, and second thing which you will learn, how can we send the files from static file from our Express. So two things we will learn from this example, one example, and we will still use the get APIs. Okay. Let me see, is there any example question from Ekta? Controller is played by callback function, right? Yes. Controller, middleware, all are callback functions only, right? You can see the middleware is also one function. Controller is also a function. Correct. So these are, because everything which we are going to write is going to be in function. So let's start today's example. Okay, guys. I have already created the new branch. The branch name is day7. I already created the file for referring if somewhere I missed the syntax, but yeah, no problem. Okay, so before moving there, let me to tell you that, okay, so one more concept you need to remember. Okay, we are where? Oh, we need to go to app.js. Yeah. Okay, so before moving further, you need to remember that one more thing about the middleware, that we can apply middleware in two ways. We can apply middleware in two ways. First way is we directly assign middleware on the routes. That's what we did yesterday. So you can see my screen. Yeah. So you can see this logging middleware is only applicable for the slash address. If I show you, like, let me, if I say you that if I'm accessing this API slash about slash name, this logging middleware will not work there because we are applying the middleware directly to a specific route. That is the first way to use the middleware. Let me show you quickly. Let me run both APIs and you will see in the console only for the address one in controller will come. Okay, let me show you quickly. Node app.js. Correct? Our server is running. So first we will access the slash address one. Okay. So first we will access the slash address. So let me go to the slash address one. Localhost 8000 slash address. You can see is an error in middleware. So there is some error is coming. Yeah, because we are sent. So the meaning which I want to show you, see, the logging middleware is called, correct, in middleware, and we are sending the response as it's an error in middleware. Okay, that's what the response we are sending here, correct. So that's what I already showed you yesterday night, right? That we are calling the middleware, and in the middleware, if something error is happening, it will not go into the controller. So that's why some error is happening, and we are simply sending the response from here, correct. But now, if I show you this slash about one, so you will see the call will not go to the in middleware. So let me hit the slash about also, slash about slash ap, correct, slash ap small. You can see name AP, but you can see in middleware is not coming. This is the earlier in middleware, guys. If you say that this is the middleware again coming, no, this is the middleware when we call the address API. But right now it's a params and queries coming. These are correct. So that's what I want to tell you guys, that when you are applying middleware directly on the routes level, it will only applicable to that routes, not to all routes. Okay, but there is a way to apply middleware on the global level. Means all the requests will go to that particular route, so as that particular middleware first, then it will go to the specific route. Okay, right now what we did, we are putting the middleware on a specific route, so all requests will not go from there. All the requests to that specific route will only go to that middleware. But in some scenarios we need it like all the requests for all the routes, whatever requests are going, we have to pass through the middleware, and we can create any number of middlewares. There is no restrictions on the middlewares also. Okay, so let's try to create a global level middleware. Okay, that example we will also take. So we can say in local middleware, or in local middleware for address, route, for address route. Okay, and let's try not to send any response, just simply return it next. So let me very quickly show you very quickly the same thing. Slash address, if I call here slash address, you will see address Kanpur, and you can see the in local middleware for address route, and then in controller for the address middleware. If I show you slash about, again I'm showing the same thing. Slash response is coming, but you can see there is no middleware is coming, right? The same middleware is not calling. Now we will create the global middleware, and for creating the global middleware we have to use app.use, and this middleware also has the same callback function, request, response, and next, as the other middleware has. This middleware also has three things: request, response, and next. But this middleware we applied only for this specific route. But now when we are using app.use, all the requests will go from here. So let me show you. Console.log. Hey, I am global middleware. all the requests go from me first. Requests go from me first. Correct? And then we can see, then we can say next. We can simply call the next from here. Now the all the routes will be, and now I will show you this particular routes will always call. Okay. Let me clear the logs. Let me increase the size also if you guys are not able to see it. Now let me run it. Okay. Let me run the application. Node app.js. Server is running. Now we will check for /1. This route. Okay. Simple thus, without anything. Slash. Now our response is coming. Name Arpit AS24. That's what we are returning. Name Arpit AS24. But console.log didn't come. Okay, 1 minute, guys. Am I missing something? Request.next. Next is there. Okay. Okay. Console.log we are printing. Okay. So it's a /1, right? 1 minute. We haven't put the slash address. Okay, slash address. Yeah, slash address it is coming. You can see, hey, I'm global middleware. All the requests go from me first. But it seems like for the slash, okay, let me check one more time. For the slash, it didn't work. Yeah, this time it works. Hey, I'm global middleware. I don't know what happened first time. Let me run it again, guys. Let me run the application again. And now you can see, now I have started the application again. Let me clear the logs. Yeah. And now let me run it. Node app.js. And let's hit this API again. Yeah, you can see, hey, I am global middleware. All the requests go from me first. Correct? So let me refresh it again. It will again go, hey, I am global middleware. All the requests go from me first. So that's what I was trying to say you. This is now global middleware. Now everything first will go through this middleware, then go into the any specific. Now if you try any other also, /user. Let me try the /user also. /user/1. You can see Karthik 1 is coming. And again, hey, I am global middleware. All the requests go from me first. Correct? And then we can see simply or if you want to better understand, we can console one more thing, which could be our request URL. Console.log print the request.url. Correct? So we will understand the better from where the hey is coming, like URL. Correct? Let's see this thing also. This will tell us like exactly from where the request is coming. Correct? Let me clear the logs and let me run it again. Yeah. So let's see. Let's call this one /user. So you can see the request URL is coming /user/1. So that's what we are in the global middleware for /user/1. Now let's access /about/ap. Correct. Now you can see our URL is /about/ap. Correct. Now let's the address. Now in address it will go to both middleware. First the global, then the local, then the like specific module. You can see URL is /address. Hey, I'm in global middleware. Then it is going the local middleware. Then again it's coming back to controller. So guys, are we comfortable with the flow? Let me come back to the questions. We can see response. We can create any response. Okay, yes. Okay, good. So that's what I want to show you: the global one and the specific one. And we use according to our use case. In some scenarios, we want some middleware which has to work on the global side, or sometimes we want only the specific one. So that's where I told you both ways. Whatever ways is preferred in your way, you can go with that. Okay. Now let's quickly see the example which you want to create. So if in this example which I am going to show you, we are going to render 2 files. Okay, and we are also trying to do some logging. I am talking about the logging, not logged in, the authentication part. I am just trying to do some logging. Okay, so in logging, what I will do, I will create 2 middlewares. First middleware for just checking the URL part, like what is the URL, because in the URL we will pass the file name, and then from server we will render those files. Okay, so first we will check the URL in the first middleware, then our main logic will be written, and then third would be simple the error part. Like in some scenarios, if URL is not matching, then we will go into the third middleware and display the URL in our logs. That's what we are going to do. Post the code in Git. Okay, let me push this part of also where I explain you about the global middleware and that part. Okay, let me quickly do that. Git commit -m global versus okay, global versus specific middleware. Yeah, git push. So it is in the day 7, guys. You have to choose the next branch day 7 to access this part. Okay. Okay. So now we will create one folder first where we will have the specific file transfer code. Okay. So let's see. We'll take the folder file transfer. Okay. In this file transfer, we will create two files. File1.txt and then we will have file2.txt. 2.txt. Okay, guys. Now we can have some data here like name, Arpit, address, Kanpur. Same we can have here also. Let me copy this and put it there also. File one. Name, Rohan, and address, Lucknow, we can say. Yeah. Now we'll create one JS file which we will run. So we express file transfer .js. Correct. Now, very quick, very small things to write. We need to write, right? Const express. You guys now do the practice of this. Require express. Correct. That's the first thing. Then the next thing, what? Const app is equal to express. Now that's all we need to do. And then next would be where we have to listen it. App.listen. Today I will use just some randomly any other port. Like I'm using 300 right now, 3000. Correct. So let's create the function and just simply console it out that our server is running. The server is running on this URL. That's how you have to also practice, guys. These two things: localhost colon 3000. Correct. So our server is running on this URL. So now, now first what we will do? Now first we will do. First we will create a global middleware. So app.use function, and it needs three things: request, response, and next. We are simply doing the logging. We are not checking anything. We are not doing any validation here. Simply checking. So we'll simply console the request.url. So let's write it properly. URL coming from request / client. We are doing simply logging, correct? And we will simply log them the URL request.url. So somebody, like if later on some error is coming, so we can simply check our logs and we can check what are the errors here. So this is the simple first middleware which we created. Like for all the requests will come. We'll simply use URL coming from request/client. Let me correct the spelling of request/client, and then console.log. Now let's create our main logic also. So what we will do, we will use the app.use only. And right now we will use two more Node.js core packages, which are fs for file reading, doing the file operation. So we'll require fs. We do not need to install these two because these are why we do not need to install. You guys tell me why I am not installing fs and path modules. Anyone in the chat? What is the reason for that? These two modules I have used. Yes, these are core modules or inbuilt modules which comes with the Node.js, like HTTP. Okay, great. So now what we will do? So we are simply because we are going to because we will simply do the we will create another middleware just for file reading. Okay. So first we need a file from path. So we can write file path, and I will show you how we will get it. So we'll write path, and we will use the path modules dot join, and then our directory name, comma request dot params. Correct, guys? Request.params here we will use. Or request.url. We can simply say request.url directly. Because that's what, see, we will send the request in this way. Like this way. Slash file1.txt. That's what the name we have given, right? Yeah. So now file1.txt or file2.txt. That's how we will make the request. So this value will come into our request.url. So request.url will take that value. And what I did here, so I'm just creating a file path, this file path, file1.txt. So I have taken the directory name. This is the way how we get the directory. So once you will, let me print out the directory for you. So that way you guys can easily understand how the directory name work. Directory name, correct? And I will simply do underscore underscore dir name. So you will see this will give us a directory name till here, where our, and then I will also print the joining part. What I did with directory name, I joined the dynamic file name which is coming from the UI side. I will also print the file path so you guys can understand what is coming in the file path also. Okay, let's print this much, then we will do the next part. Okay. And simply right now we can return response simple. No, this will we will correct this one, but we are just simply returning hello. So just I want to show you the how file path and directory name. That's why I'm not returning anything right now. Let's see, run it. Node file transfer slash express files and transfer, because we are running from the backend cohort folder and this has another folder. So that's why I've taken this path, node file transfer slash express file transfer slash .js. You can see our server is running in 300. So let me show you the directory name and file path part. So rather, yeah, in the same example, just take the 3000. So underscore dir name is not defined. So let me see. Underscore dir name is not defined. Okay. Underscore dir name is not defined. Why is that? Let me check. Am I missing anything? Underscore underscore dir name is there. Underscore underscore file name is there. So okay. So I have used the 3 actually underscore. Sorry guys, I was just missing the syntax, so that's why that error happened. Let me restart the things. It has to be 2 underscore. You can see underscore. This is the by default Node.js provides to you to access your directory name. So you need to keep the same syntax. Okay, to access your directory names. Let me show you again to hit this URL. Okay, so response is not defined. Okay, I see the second syntax error. Sorry for that. Let me rerun the file for you guys. Yeah. So 2 syntax error we received. Now access again. 3000 slash tag. What was the file name? File1.txt. You can see hello is coming, correct? So now you can see here. See, the first request is coming from the first our global middleware is running URL coming from requestless client, and the first was slash file1.txt. That's what we printed here. Now you can see the directory name. So you can see the directory name is slash user AR prova desktop backend cohort slash file transfer. Like till this folder, all we received in directory name. Then what we are doing URL. Then we have printed the file path. Then we have joined the file path with that directory. So you can see in the request.url, we are getting our file path. That's what we have already printed here, slash file1.txt, and we have just simply combined them. Okay, are we good guys with this? Now we will do the next part. Are we good with that till now, guys? Great. Now we will do the next part. Okay, so now what we need to do, we will use, now I will just remove some of the logs, so it will be better to write. So now in FS modules, there is one method which checks about the file information, which checks about the file that this file is a file or it's not a file. Is it something else? So that's why let me show you about the fs.state very quickly. FS module in Node.js, and it has a lot of modules, lot of methods. So looking for here is state method. Let me see if we have. It's better to go to see directly Node.js websites. It has better examples actually to understand. Yeah, there will be one stat method also. Yeah, this is the stat. Return the status of file, identify the file name passed. So whatever the file name we are passing or file path we are passing, it will just provide you some information about that file. So that's what this method does. And it like and it also returns same callback error slash file info. Correct. I will print for you. So now first we'll check if we somehow we got error. So what we will do? We will simply call the next from here, right? And simply return from here because we do not want to go further, correct? Or we can simply also print the error also. Console.log error while while reading about or not reading. We are not reading here while checking about files. We are checking the files that is it the file or not while checking about file. This is the error, correct? Then we will do the next. Why we are calling the next? Because we are going to create one more like middleware where we will check this thing, where we want to put some other logging information. Just simply we'll see the invalid or something like that. Response next, correct? And if this is if we are not getting error, so we'll just simply check if file info dot is file. There, see, you can see a lot of methods are there. We are checking is file is there or not. If that's the case, we will simply response dot send file is there, and then we will pass simply the file path. Correct? Else, else we will simply return that to the next part. Next, we'll simply return the next. Correct? So that's what we will do. So what we are trying to do here? Let me check the syntax with the express file transfer which I had earlier, and let me compare the syntax if I'm not making any mistakes. Let me check very quickly, guys. So okay, under the CRUD, I think I had, yeah, this is the file. Let me check the syntax very quickly. Yeah, syntax look good. This is send file. Okay, yeah, we are good here. Okay, so let me just go back to our own file. Yeah, we are good in the syntax. So now, so let me just repeat it. What I'm trying to do, I use first I get the file path, correct? Here we have the file path. So for getting the file path, we are using a directory name and our request.url, which is coming from the UI side, or which is coming from our request, correct? Then what I did, I used one file fs modules method called stat. What it does, whatever file you will provide, it will provide you some information about files, like this is the real file or not, is it the encrypted file, or some other information. Let me print the file info also for you guys, so you guys can understand what information it is providing. File info, correct? So we'll see the file info here, correct? Then we are checking if it's file, everything looks good, send that file data from here. And if that's not, then go to the next, and then in the next, we will see console.log, we'll simply do the console.log here. Console.log, invalid URL. There could be a scenario, right? Invalid URL is there. We simply call the next from here, right? So let me run it and let me first show you. Then we will see your questions. Okay. So note file transfer is there, and let's see the localhost 3000 slash file1.txt, how that looks now. You can see the name Rohal and Lucknow is coming. That was our file one content, Rohan and Lucknow. Let me see now the data which is happening here. Let me see what is happening here, correct? Yeah, so this is the code which we are running. You can see the first it went to the global one where we are seeing URL coming from request list line, and URL is this slash file1.txt. Then I printed the file info, and you can see in the file info the like birth time or size, what is the size of that file, or like some more things are coming. We need to understand this when we will look into the fs.stat properties. Then we can understand more about these data, whatever is happening here. Okay. Then what we did, then we found that yes, this file is correct. This is the method is file, and then we are simply returning that file from here. So that's why it is happening. Let's check for file 2 also. That's how we would return the static file also. So the file 2 is also going to be the same way. You can see the file 2.txt. Then we are seeing the file status.information, and then simply do it. Now let's try to return any wrong file. File 3.1.txt, which does not exist. Okay, let's see. Cannot get slash file.txt. You can see now you can see URL coming from there. Okay, then you can see we are getting error here. Error right checking out file because that file does not exist. So now we went into the error part, and then we are doing the next. So that's why it is returning here in this part, and then we printed out our logging invalid URL, and then simply we are saying it to the cannot get, or maybe we can simply return a proper response from here. Response dot send of 400, like 400 response we can uh, throw from here. Response dot status. You can simply return 400 and saying file is invalid or invalid URL from client side. From client side. Set. Okay, let's run this also for file3.txt. You can see now invalid URL from client side. Okay, now let me see what questions you guys have to understanding this thing. So what I did very simple. I tried to show you two things there. How can we render files? For that, we simply use res.send file, and then we pass the file path. In meanwhile, I check that this file is correct or not with the fs.method method. You do not need to do that. You can simply remove that also. If you are sure about that this file exists, then simply you can use the res.send file. You do not need to do fs.state or not, those things. I just did it just for making our code more better. So if some file does not exist, I can clearly catch it and then throw the error properly. And then I showed you the second thing about the global middleware. Because whatever the code I right now written, everything is happening in the middleware. There was no route till now. Correct? Can you please explain the flow again, like briefly? Sure. Okay, so what I did, I created three middlewares here. Correct? So all the requests has to pass through these middlewares only. So this was the first middleware because we have written it first. So order also matter. So first, this is the first middleware we have written. That's why this middleware first will be called. So that's why request.url has been called. This middleware has been called, and we are doing nothing here. We are just simply printing our consoling.log our request.url. That's we are passing in while making the call slash file3.txt. That's what we did here, right? Then what we did in the second middleware, we were trying to check that path exists or not, and if path exists, simply send the file from here. That's what we did in the second middleware. So for that, what we did, we first created the file path with the help of directory name and the request.url. That's what we did. We combined the both things. Then we use one fs library. Fs library has a lot of methods for reading file, for creating files, updating files. Lot of method fs module has. Okay, and then we pass the file path here, and then we are just catching in the callback. We are simply catching the error here. That if there is any error, if file has any problems, if file does not exist in the repo, then we will catch the error here. And after that, we are calling the next also. So next means next middleware. So just for returning if there is invalid URL, so we can properly return the result from here. That's why we have the next middleware also. And if this is not the case, if there is no error, if everything is like a success scenario, then we will send it from here. And if not, then we are again calling the next. Correct? Two times we are calling next, right? One in the error scenario or one in this scenario. When we see that the file info, we got the file, but that is corrupted file. So that in those scenarios, we will just simply do the next, and we will say that invalid URL slash missing file, something like that. Invalid URL slash missing file. So that's what is happening here. So I will tell you one more example after that about the CRUD. After that, after this example, we will also talk about the CRUD, and then we will see the post put delete API there, and then we will use our postman, because post put delete APIs we cannot call from the browser. We can only call the get APIs from the browser. So that's why we will use the postman also. Let me see if you have any other question. How to remember all this? I understand all that, but it seems hard to remember. See, you do not need to remember, Aradhya. You asked this question yesterday also. That how to remember. Do not we try to remember these things. Only try to remember these things. See, first you need to understand how to create server. For that you need how many lines? These many lines only, right? You do not need to understand these things. You need to remember these things only. Const app and the first line and app dot listen. How many time you will practice? How many time you will create the servers? You need to write these three things every time. Correct? Now your server is up. Now once your server is up, अब हमें क्या करना है? अब हमें routes बनाने हैं, क्योंकि तभी तो हम उसको access कर पाएंगे. Correct? So now what do we need to do? We need to create routes. And how can we create routes? Then for that we have one simple structure: app.use or app.get. I told you about yesterday the app.get part. Correct? So app.get is there. Now after that, once we created the routes, now we need to what we need to do? We might need to create some middlewares. Now middleware has two types. Sometimes we need some middlewares to global. Sometimes we need a specific route middleware. If we are having a specific route middleware, we have to put between the routes and static like this way. I showed you in the app.js, right? Yeah, this one. This way, in between the routes, between the logging middleware. And if we do not have the specific route request, then we can simply put it on the global level. Correct? That's what you need to remember. Now, after that, what you need to remember in the middleware, you have to call the next if you want to pass this request to next middleware or next controller. Correct? And these part, FS and state, you do not need to remember these things. These things only remember when somebody is saying to you, now, hey, Aradhya, you need to write some logic. See, right now, something logic is happening there, right? I told you till now, I was simply taking requests and responding back. But now in this my middleware, some logic was also happening. So if somebody is saying to you, hey, Aradhya, I want to create some files. I want to do some manipulation in that file. So according to that, you know that FS module is there. FS module is there, which do all the file manipulation operations. You just need to remember this thing. FS modules in Node.js do all the file manipulation. You will simply go to the FS modules Node.js library. You will check all the methods of that. Like there will be create file, there will be read file. You will simply take that code and put it there. So there is no need to remember. You need to remember the bigger concepts, like the middleware is there, where to use middleware, right? Then there is a controller, there is a routes, only three things. I think in Express, you will be fully aware with the app creation. And after that, you just need to remember three things: app, middleware, and controller. Everything will be like circle round around these only concepts. And we will do more and more practice. You will see how things work. So do not like afraid right now. Okay. How next is working? So next is simply so middleware. Yeah. So middleware's purpose is simple. Like as I told you that whenever you are using middlewares, so Express treats them as a path, right? As a mediator, and the mediators person and the mediators Express provide three things to the mediator: request, response, and next. Correct. So in the next, so once this middleware is passed, we need to go to next middleware, right? So that's why Express has provided you the next keyword. You just simply need to call next. It will automatically go to the next middleware what is available. So that's what the purpose of middleware. That's what the purpose of next. Whenever you see that everything has been passed in the middleware, you just simply need to call next, and then it will go to the next middleware which is available. If not, middleware is not available, it will go to the controller part. Correct. And if controller is not available, like in controller, you will write simply response.send. Response will go back to client. That's how the next work. Controller. Yeah, controller is the place, Joseph, where we write our main logic. I will show you today. Like when we will like in the FS part, you can understand this is our controller. Like one way, this is the part which we write in the controllers, because we are doing the main logic here, where we are checking our like file exists properly or not. We are creating the file path. These all things happen on the generally on the controller. So that's what the meaning of controller. Nayan is saying explain route. So route is very simple. I told you yesterday that we need to create multiple APIs. Correct. When we were talking about the APIs, we need to have multiple APIs. But in Express.js, we say those APIs as routes. Correct. Like slash user. could be one API, same as a root. Slash API could have 4 methods: get, post, put, delete. So these are same APIs, and we say root only. They are similar name. Root and API both are similar, and we know how now we know how to create those roots in Express. Correct? There are three middleware. So with next from first, middleware is coming to second. Yes, the same. So there are three middlewares. The first will be called. Then in that first middleware, we are calling next. Then it is going to the next middleware. Then we are calling the next. Then it will go to the third middleware. What if there is not next middleware? If there is not next middleware, it will just simply throw the error, or simply it will not go, like it will not go anywhere. That's why the proper way to write code, next middleware has to respond at some place. Correct? We cannot send to the next and next. If we are sending it next to next, at the end it has to respond. It has to properly send some response. That's the way we write the code. That's why you can see at the end in the this last middleware, I was sending the response. Correct? I do not need to call next here. I can simply send the response here. Correct? Because there was no next. If I call the next, there will be no next, right? So that's why we will simply send the response here. Correct? We write main logic. Yes, Joseph. We write main logic in controller. That's totally true. If first middle is getting error, it still will go next. No. If the first middle is getting error, we will cache that error and we will send the error from there, and we will not call the next. It's like how you are writing the call. How it's totally depend on us how we are writing the code. So when we will call the next modules, then only it will go to the next middleware. So we will not call in the error scenarios. What we generally do, we catch the error there, and we simply send the response back from there. So we will not use the next there. Okay. Okay. Fs.state purpose. So fs.state purpose is data just to get some information about file, the file path which we are passing, just to get some information about that file, like what is the file size, or what is the bundle size it has, some timing. I mean, like last time when it is updated. These information fs.stat provides to us. We can say consider API as a root. Yes, API and root both are similar thing. Ankit. API and root both are similar thing, but just in Express we say API is a roots. Okay. Response is sent from controller. Yes, response is generally sent from controller. But yeah, in the error scenarios, we can send the response from middleware also. We can send that. See, if you remember this slide, yeah, this one. You can see the response is connected to everywhere, from middleware also and from the main task. But we are only throwing the response from middleware when we are seeing any error, the red one. Right? So on those scenarios, that's how we write code as a web developer. When we are seeing any errors in middleware, we generally throw the error. Otherwise, we go always to the controller and we write our all logic in main task or controller. That's how we do that coding. Response is sent from controller. Yes, last middleware act as a controller. No. In this scenario, in this example, like I have just combined both things, middleware and controller together. So you can say this is the main middleware actually. This is the main controller where we are writing things. So I think in this example, I'm not using any controller, if truly speaking. I'm just simply using all the middleware only. And then simply because I told you from the middleware we can also send the response. So that's why I'm right now not doing the correct way. I should create one controller and then I should pass all those requests to controller. But I just want to show you how can we use the global middleware. So that's why I'm just sending the response from here. Just sending response. Success response also I'm sending, and the error response also I'm sending. But in true cases, in the real projects, only we have to throw the final response. So to the error response. Okay, guys. So right now in this example, you can consider there is no controller. We are just simply doing everything with the middleware. Okay. Are we good with that? Let's see now the CRUD thing one more time. The like how can we do the CRUD operations? Okay. If there is error, we send response from middleware. Otherwise, we send to control. Yes, that's what we need to remember, Joseph. Everyone, if there is an error, we send. No. Okay. One more thing, guys. Hey, Joseph, if there is error, no. You are just little bit like not correct here. If there is an error in middleware, If there is error in middleware, then we send response from middleware. Otherwise, we send it to controller. Controller can also throw the error. But with your statement, it looks like controller does not throw errors from we cannot throw the error from controller. That's not the right statement. The right statement is if there is any error in middleware, then we throw the response, then we send the response from the middleware. Otherwise, we always do the things in controller. Otherwise, we do all the things in controller, sending response, sending error, everything in controller. Okay, guys? Also post this code of file transfer. Yeah, sure. Let me do that quickly. So guys, remember this thing. I think Joseph line is very approximately right, partially right. The correct line is about the middleware and controller. Whenever we are seeing any error in middleware, whenever we see any error in middleware, we simply send the response from middleware. As you can see the diagram also. Whenever we are seeing the red in middleware, we are simply sending the response. If there is no error, we just pass that request to controller, and controller at the end do everything, sending response, sending error, connecting database, doing everything we do in controllers. Okay. So we do not go to controller. We simply return response from middleware only when the errors occurs. Yes, that's true. We do not go to controller in those scenarios if we are seeing errors in middleware. That's true. Hey, simple, right? If we are अगर हमारा कोई सोर्स और डेस्टिनेशन है, हम कोई पुल पार कर रहे हैं, तो अगर हमारे बीच में ही कुछ एरर आ गई, लाइक पुल टूटा हुआ हो गया, हम आगे नहीं जाएंगे ना, हम वहीं से रिटर्न हो जाएंगे. That's what the middlewares are doing. Okay, let me push this code, guys. Then we will see the CRUD part also. Today, till now, we were totally talking about the get method, right? Now we will talk about the post put also. Now file transfer, git push. So it's the same branch, day 7. Okay. Now, guys, I think before going to the controller, let's talk about the postman also. How we do the same thing in postman. Let's see the get examples only. Take the get examples first, then we'll go for the post. So this is a postman application. Everyone after this call, they can download it in their system. You just simply need to go to the postman and download according to your machine. Right? Right now I'm in the Mac, so I have downloaded the Mac one. Or actually, my company is already providing it, so I do not need to download it. But according to your machine, you can simply download it. Okay, guys? You can download it after today's class. Okay, and then you can do the practice here. So this is a tool just for helps you to make all the API call directly from this tool. So you can say this now Postman will be our next client from where we will make the calls. Okay. So let me open the Postman again in front of you from the new place. As I start again, let me search the Postman and let it open. I'm searching Postman. It's an application, it's software which works as a client rather than, because from browser we can only make the get request. But here now we are on the Postman. Now you will see that these are already I made requests. You can click on this plus. You will see this UI here. Here you have to enter your URL from which you are going to make requests. Like in our case, it will be HTTP localhost 3000. Correct? That was our URL, and we can choose all the methods from here. You can see a lot of methods are there, but we will be mostly working on these get, post, put, delete. These 4 methods we will be working here. Get, you can provide the headers here. You can see these are some automatically headers which Postman is sending. Same like browsers. We can add our custom headers, custom header values as well from the client side, right? We can also add the params. You remember, right? Params we goes here with slash. We can add those here also, correct? And in the post case, we can send the body also from here. In the raw, we can select JSON, and then we can send the. I will show you today when we will working on the post one. But in the get, we do not need body. Okay. So let's hit it slash file1.txt. Let's restart our server. Node file transfer, and let's hit the file1.txt from here. So file1.txt. Let's send it. You can see the same response is coming here also. Same thing is happening. Whatever is happening from the browser, we can do the same thing here. Are we good with the Postman, guys? So with this Postman, we will also, I will show you the get, post, put, delete, 4 methods today. I will show you, and we will create it also. You will see how easy we will going to create it. Okay. So now we will create a new file. We can create it on the root only, or might be let's create another folder and let's do inside that. Okay. Let's create a CRUD. Okay. Inside this, create a file called crud.js. We'll create a new server. Again, see, Aradhya, how quickly you one more how how much practice you will do on that basis, you will be very quickly remember this. So first thing we need to remember this, like express in which we are requiring. Then the next line is const app is equal to express that, and then app.listen. See, I have done 3 times. When you will practice, you will also do the say 3 times. I am taking 2500. Any port we can take. I told you, right? If this port is busy, it will throw us error that this port is busy. You cannot use it. So not any concern. Console.log server is running on localhost. Let's take the HTTP also. HTTP :// localhost :2500. Okay. Yeah. So we have now this is the minimum things which we need to have in our projects. This is the minimum thing which we need to have. Okay. Now we need to create a 4 methods. Correct. So see Aradhya, how we do that. Now somebody has told you have to create the 4 methods, which are create, retrieve, update, delete. So first app.get, you will have one method. You have to provide the name, and then you will have the function here, which is which is our controller. Correct. And okay, and next thing would be app dot post. This will be the second method. Third will be app dot put. Correct. And the next will be app dot delete. Correct. These are the 4 methods which we are going to use. Correct. Let's remove this thing till now. Once we will start deciding the names of our APIs, then we will write it. So see, these are the 4 methods which we are going to use this today. Correct. See guys, how much easy it is, like how easily we have written things. Somebody has told us that we need to create the 4 APIs, correct? And we are very easy. And now you can see we now what CRUD operations we are going to do. So we are going to create one array. In that array, we will keep some user data. Okay, let's create one as array. Const user data, and we will provide some default data here, like user data, right? So name would be Rohan, correct? Take the name of Rohan. ID, it has one ID. We can say the ID is 1, and we can say the place where he stay. We can say it stay in Delhi, correct? No need to provide, yeah, it's JavaScript, right? Yeah. So this is the first object which an array has. We can create one more object, a default one, right? We can take like name as like Raju, ID could be 2, correct? And then place could be Kanpur, right? So this is the data which we already has in our system, correct? So now when we will do the get, we'll say the get users. This is our API, we will call it. And we will simply, this is our controller. We are not using any middleware here, correct? So request, response. This is our controller here. And we'll simply return the response.send user data. So now we are getting the what is the scenario here? That we want to get some data from the database, but right now we do not have any data. So that's why we are simply created some dummy data, and that's data we will return it. So in real life, what will be the example? There will be one client request. In that client request, somebody wants to get user resources. Client has requested to server to send me all the user data or user resources. That was the real scenario. ठीक है. अब उसमें क्लाइंट ने क्या किया, क्लाइंट ने गेट एपीआई को कॉल किया. ठीक है, और उस गेट एपीआई का नाम क्या था, स्लैश गेट यूजर, right? So slash get user API will be called, and now you can see on the function on the server how we have implemented. So we have very simply implemented. We are calling slash get user, और जो भी हमारे पास data है dummy, we are just simply returning it. So let me show you guys this thing. Node CRUD, because now it is inside the CRUD folder, CRUD.js. Let's see, there is some errors. Let me see what is that error. Okay, so this error is coming from I think these methods which we have simply defined. Let me comment them out. Let's see now, is it working? Yes, it is working, because we haven't defined anything here, so that's why these errors were coming. But yeah, we'll very quickly define there also. So let's go to the postman. Now we'll do everything in the postman. 2500, this is our port number, right? And our API is slash get users, correct? Slash get users, and let's hit it. Yeah, you can see the whole data is coming, whole user data is coming to us. This is the get API. We are getting whole user data, correct? Guys, are we good with the get API? Okay, zoom. Okay, let me zoom in. What about now? Can you guys see it? Great. We can see it, right? Okay, let's create the post API now. Okay, so now post API, see, for creating post, put and delete, we need some input from the client side, correct? Right? We use get method now. Yes, we use the get method because we want some data from the server, correct? That's called a retrieval. In CRUD, 4 letters are there, right? CRUD. So R is retrieval. Retrieval means get things from there. So R we have completed. Now we have remaining 3 letters: create, update, delete. और creation के लिए मैंने बोला था we will use post method. For updation we will use put method. For deletion we will use delete method. Correct? Sir, we need to install Express in every project folder, right? Since we are not installing it globally. No, actually, we should not install actually globally Express, because I am working right now in the same projects. So that's why once I have installed, I can use Express many times in the same projects. But if you are going to create multiple projects, you have to install Express every time in that projects, because see, and that's the good way actually. Express is not the thing which you need to install globally, I would say, because once you create any projects, you need to deploy it somewhere, and at that place also you need Express. So then again you have to globally install there, rather than keep that as a local modules in packet.json. Next time if somebody somewhere you are deploying, automatically automatically Express will be installed there. So that's why Express, never install Express globally. Okay, so let's create the post one. So, okay, yeah, I was talking about the post. Okay, why we haven't used middleware? So we do not see any need of middleware here. We didn't see any need of middleware. We can use the middlewares. Like we can keep keep the middleware only for logging purpose. If all the requests are coming, what URL we are using. We didn't see. Okay, I will show you one use of middleware also in the post. Like once the data coming from the UI side, so we'll simply check that in the data this key exists or not. Those part we will check in middleware. Okay, Joseph. In the get we didn't, in the get middleware, in the get part we didn't see any use of middleware. That's why we haven't used. Okay. In the post, I will just, for the post I will use it. Okay, so yeah, one more important thing to remember: for creating a post API we need one more modules: post, put, delete. For like whenever we are taking data from the client side on the server, we need one more API in Express.js, and that package, that module is called body parser. So Aradhya or the other person, you do not need to remember. You just need to remember one time, and we need to put those in the top of our files, and every time we need to copy paste them. Okay, let me install the body parser first. So npm install body parser. My save, and you guys can read more about body parser in the npm module folder. So it's just for taking the data from the UI side. Taking the data from UI side. Just need to remember these things. So now you can see in the packet.json, we have two dependencies now: Express and body parser. So let's require the body parser also. Body parser, require body parser. And as a middleware, you can see now we are already using that one global middleware. All the data which is coming from the client has to go through this middleware. And there are two lines which you need to add it. Let me find out those lines. I don't remember those lines. Let me add those lines to, yeah, these two lines. And every time you just need to, this is the configuration which you need to do for body parser. Okay, guys, this is the configuration which you need to do for body parser, and you do not need to remember. You just need to simply add it every time this time. So what exactly it is doing, whatever data is coming from the UI side, it is just converting that data into JSON part. Whatever data is coming from the UI side, it's just converting that data into the JSON part. Like first it is converting into the URL encoded part and then converting JSON. So do not need to remember what is happening. It just you can understand this is the body parser config which you need to read your data from the client side. Okay, that's the small thing you need to do. Now we will see the app.post. Now in the app.post, it will work in the same way. So this is some configuration which you need to do, and then we will create a post API very quickly. In the post API, we'll give the name same way, create user, okay? And then same controller is there, request and response. So like Joseph wants to see some middleware also, so I will create one middleware also. So function validate user data. That is our middleware, correct? Validate user data, and it will have three things: request, response, next, correct? Or now we will put this middleware where only for create user. So we will simply put it in the middle of that, okay? Because this is just for this particular. Now here what we will do? So now, yeah. So now see for taking the data, the user data, that will always come in the request.body. Whatever data we will pass from there, that will come always in the request.body. So that's why for getting data in request.body, we have used these things, body parser. Okay, that's why all the data will come in the body key. Okay, so now first let's create the validate user data. So we can say how many things we have to send: name, ID, and place. So we can validate here that if like we can save here date also. We can take in it in one variable const user data. I'm just doing some logic part now, guys. You do not need to remember. You just need to remember how to write the logics in JavaScript. So request.body, simply I have taken it in the request.body. Then I'm doing the destructuring. We can simply do the destructuring also. No need to do destructuring here. User data is fine. Then we can simply put the condition. If user data dot name, not name, and user data dot id and user data dot place. If this all three keys exist, then simply call the next, right? Otherwise, if didn't, we will simply throw the error. Response dot status. We will just add the custom status from there. This response dot status 400 or some could be there. Send, and we can simply send the error from here in JSON format. Error, any format you can say that the user data is missing. User data is missing. Correct? That is one middleware we have created where we are checking that the request.body should have all these things: name, ID, and place. If we do not have these things, we will simply send the error. Okay. And if validator is passing, that means we have all the data. Then we will simply push it into our user data array. So let's push it. User data array. So we can correct the name. This is the array. User data array. Yeah. Dot push. What do we have to push? Request.body. Or simply user data object where we have already taken the data, user data. And before that, if you want, I can like print also. After that, we can print the user data array, that user data array has the new data or not. Console.log user data array. We'll see that the newly added data is available here or not. or we might get the updated data from here also. But yeah, that's fine. I will print it both places, and then we can simply respond back here, respond.send, and we can simply say the message that data has been added successfully. Data has been added successfully. Correct? So let me first show you, then we will see the queries here. Okay, wait. Let's start the server again. So now we have created the post. So for creating the post API, I told you for post, put and delete. What we need to do? We need to first add some body parser config. Why we add body parser config? Because we want to read the data from the client side. So that is very mandatory part. We need to do it. Correct? So this, we have added it, and you can see we are using app.use, and it is happening on the global level. So now all the requests will go from this middleware part. Correct? Then what we did? Then we created one app.post method. Then we have used the middleware because Joseph wants to see the use of middleware also here. So in middleware, what we were trying to do here, in the middleware, we check that the data which we are having, it should have name, ID, and place. If not, we will simply say user data is missing. Correct? And then we have, and if it is the true case, then we are simply pushing the user data in the user data array, and then we are simply, and let me print the response.body also for you guys. So you guys will be not be confused that what data comes in the user data body. User data body. We'll print that also. Okay. So let's run it now. Yeah, node CRUD. And let's go back to the Postman. And let's call one post API. Okay. First thing, see in the get, still we are getting two users, right? Rohan and Raju, which we have created. Now let's create the post API. In the post, first we will change the name of our routes. Now the name will be create user. Correct? Now the name will be create user. Now we'll go to the body. In this body, we will send the object from here. So first will be name. We can give any name. Test1. Test1. They have their structure to follow, right? Then we need to pass ID. Then ID could be 3 here because this is the third one. Then a place could be Delhi. Correct? Delhi. Yeah? And let's hit this one. Send. See, first we are getting the response message, data is added successfully. Correct? Now let's see the console, whatever we have printed. Okay, so you can see the first thing user data body, where we are printing the request.body, which is giving us name, ID, and place. Right, guys? And then I showed you after adding the user data array. Correct? So it means validate middleware is calling the next method because we are passing everything, name, ID, and place. That's why it went here. Correct? Let me see if you guys are still able to see my screen or not. Can you guys see my screen? Great. Let me guys first show you the error scenario also. Let me not provide now the ID. Let's see if it works. The middleware of ours working or not. Let me see. You can see error user data is missing. That's what we added in middleware, right? See, error user data is missing. Now user data body, user data, nothing will come. And if I call the get API also, you will see the updated values. HTTP localhost colon 2500, and we have to use get users, and you can see all three entry will come. Now Rohan, Raju, and test, all three entries are coming. Right? Earlier it was only Rohan and Raju. Now test one is also coming. Right? Because we have added the new entry. And I also showed you how the validator or how the middleware is working. Okay, let me now see the questions of yours. That's what that's all about the post. Let me see the questions of yours. So Suraj is saying body part used in post. Body part used not in post only. Body part used in whenever we are taking data from the client side. It can use in the put also. It can use in the delete also. It can use in the many places. All like other methods also. But whenever we want to take data from the client side. At that time, we will use the body parser. Other than params and query. Params and query also provide you data. Request.params, request.query. But when we want to take big data, like lot of data, lot of fields, at that time we use the request.body. And we generally, most of them time, use them post and put. Only in two places, post and put. Can you explain 6th and 7th line again? Okay, Aradhya, let me explain the 6th and 7th line again. 6th and 7th line. Yeah, 6th and 7th line. This is the body parser configuration, which you have to write the same lines in everywhere. Whatever projects you are doing, you need to write these lines in the same way. And this is the body parser config. And the body parser we need to read the client information or client input in our post and put APIs. So that's why we need to provide this configuration. Okay, Radha? Without body part use, we read client request. Without body part use, yeah, without body part use, we cannot use the request.body. Request.body will throw errors to us. So that's why we need to provide that configuration. Joseph was asking, here we created user data using post. Yes, we have created that. You can see the API name is app.post. This is the post method. Correct. Now we will update the data. Now for updating, what HTTP method has told, we have to use the app.put. Correct. So now we will use the put method. So, and we will give them update user, right? Third API, and we will call. Right now, I'm not using any middleware. We'll simply write the controller right directly request.response. And what we need to do now in the update user will again somebody will send the body to us. Const body, like or user data, we can say user data, and that will come into request.body only. Correct. So now how we will call the update data? Update data, like whatever existing data we had, we want to update something. Like if ID is there, we want to update the place. If ID, so we will not update the ID. We will only update the name and place. Okay. So now, so first we will check if user data, like what we have passed. If user data dot ID, if you see, we can do this part in middleware also, but I'm simply doing it here. Agar user data ke paas ID nahi hai, so we'll simply return error from here. That error, user ID should be provided. We'll simply return the error because otherwise we cannot update the things, right? We'll simply return the error from here. Error. It should be one objects. Better way to write things. Error, and then say user ID is missing. User ID is missing. That's the first error. Correct. If user ID is missing, then we are not going to update. If user ID is not missing, we will simply get that particular thing and update it. Correct. We will get that object and update it. So that's how we will do that. We can simply do many things right here. Like we can filter it out, that particular thing, or we can simply do. Yeah, I think we can do for multiple things. Like first we will filter it out. Okay, so now we'll go into the user data.array, and then we'll do the filter here. Correct. And then this filter, we will try to find out that particular object. Okay, that this particular ID exists in there or not. Okay, so we can write like ID or items, correct, and then we can simply write items dot ID equal to the user data.id. Correct. How filter work? Filter will iterate over each object. And then this wherever this ID is matching, it will return us. The data. Let's see what it is returning to us. User data or filtered. We can take this data in the filtered array. Filtered user data. Yeah, filtered user data. Correct. Filter user data. Correct. Let me see if I'm just missing any syntax or anything. Let me quickly check the CRUD file which I have created earlier. Correct. This is the delete one. This is the okay. They do not have the update one. Okay, I didn't create it, so let's fine. Okay. So that yeah. So that's what we will first filter it out, and then what we need to do? We need to update the name and place for that object. Correct. Okay. So now what we will do? Yeah. Where we yeah. So first we will take the filter user that filter data from there, and then what we will do? We will then first we will console it. Let's see how that looks like. Filter user data. Let me check this data, guys, and then we will work on the updating part. Yeah. Let me just simply return the update in progress. Update in progress. Let's first check this thing. Let's check whatever we have written till now. Okay. Let's run it. So we are now calling the put method, correct? So let's see. Let's create another API name as a put, and then we can write our same thing HTTP colon localhost colon 2500 slash update user. Now update user is there, correct? Take the correct name, update user. That's what we have provided, right? Update user, correct. Now we'll go into the body part, and we will provide the ID. Now we'll provide the ID. We'll say ID is 1, correct, and name which we want to update to. Right now my name is Rohan, so update this name to Rohan updated, correct. We'll take that. That's what we want to do, correct. So now once we will click on the send, we'll say update in progress, and we will see here now that particular filter data has come to us, correct. Now that filter data is come to us. So now the thing which we need to do, we need to somehow like create a new entry. Now how can we delete it? So that's what I'm thinking. Now what we will do, we will delete this entry, the ID one, or is there any chances to update the object? Let's see. Okay, so I'm just trying to understand how can we update this entry, correct? So the better way could be to create a new object or insert it. That's the first way, that we can create a new object with the same values, with the updated values, the remaining keep them, and then we can update it. That's the first way. Or the second way could be here, we can simply, like if we get the index, we can also get the update the value here, right? If I show you the other way, so the other way could be this, right? If we somehow get the index of that element from the user data array, like if we say, yeah, let's take this example in the console. So there are multiple ways to update this, but let me show you. We will see which one is the easy. That one we will implement there. So let's see. This is our console, correct? And now, if you want to update user data arrays, the like first we need to get the index. So once we will put the 0, so we will get the index. We will get that particular index value. Now, if you want to update the name here, so now what we need to do, we need to assign the value to like ABC, correct? Now, if we see again user data array, and let's try to see it, you can see now it has been updated. So this is the way we can update the things in arrays, right? So what we can do, what we need to find it out based on ID, we need to find out the index, correct? And then once we got the index, we can update the key, whatever key user has provided to us, right, guys? That's how we can update things. This is right now I'm not talking about anything about the express or anything like that. We are just talking about here the logic part. Like there are multiple ways to update arrays. In the some scenarios we try to create new objects, then we insert it into that, or in some places we just try to this way, or in some places we try to use some modules which automatically update things in your objects. So these are some ways which we generally do. In real projects, if you want to update something in arrays, there are multiple ways. Whatever way is like less complex, we try to follow them. Okay, so right now in this way, the way which we are trying to access, so we have to somehow find it out the index, but with the user data dot filter we are not getting that. So let's try to find it out the index. So there is one method called index of, correct? So let me quickly check that also. Array index, right? Array index in JS. There is one method, yeah, index of, correct? So what it does, it just whatever value you will provide, it just check for that. Let me check if it has a callback or not. Because if it does not have a callback, then it could create a problem for us. Uh, yeah, find index is there. Okay. Yes, it has. This one has a callback. So we'll use the find index. Find index. So what we will do in find index? It will have the item. We will compare the item dot ID and ID. Let's check this thing, guys. This is the best. I think the less complex and very easily we will update it. Let's see. We call it again, update in progress, and let's see the results. Yeah, we can see now we got the index of that element. Correct. So now what we need to do next? We just need to simply use the user data array and keep the index, right? We have to keep the index here, and then whatever the value is coming, correct? So now, like in our case, we are passing the name, right? So we can simply keep the name here, or like in the real world, what will happen? We need to check here. After this, we will check the condition here. If user data dot name, then do this thing. Else, if user data dot place, then write this thing. Correct? Yeah. Very quickly we'll do that. No problem. We'll do that user data index and we'll simply keep the name here. Name, and we will keep the user data dot name. Whatever value, updated value is coming. User data dot name. Same we will do for the place also. User data name and place. And we'll simply place it. Correct? That's what we need to do. And because then at the end we can return the message with the name of. Simply we can say that update has been done. Updated successfully. Simply updated successfully. Let's check this is working or not. Yeah, guys, node crud /crud.js, and let's go back to the server here. So now we want to update the one to run updated. Let's hit it. Message updated successfully. Okay. Now check in the get API. Check in the get API that this has been updated or not. Yeah, you can see Rohan updated is there and Raju is there. So that's how. Let's try it for second ID, and keep the name as a Raju updated. Raju updated. Yeah. Okay. Let's check that. Let's get back API. Yeah, we can see Raju updated. We can also update the place also. Rather than name, let's update the place. For Raju, right now place is Kanpur. Let's make that as a Delhi. Yeah, correct. Updated successfully. If we go to the get back, it's a Delhi. So that's how the put API. See, there was nothing new in the put and the post, but it's just about the logic. How the logic, how the logic is differing there. Correct. Same goes for the delete also, guys. See, if we talk about the delete also very quickly, app.delete. So we will write here /delete user. Correct. Function request dot comma response. That goes for the delete also, guys. So now in the delete, I think if we will simply filter it, I think, yeah, that, and after filter it out, just assign the same array to the user data array. So I think that could make our sense. That could give us the new updated array. Like how can we delete things from the arrays? So what we will do there, the first thing is again like we can do the simply we will get the filter array, and yeah, I think we can simply use the filter array logic only, right? So what filter array will give us? Filter array will give us like whatever value exists, and then we can assign the same value to user data array as a same like another array. That's what I'm thinking. Let me check. I have the logic for this. Let's see. For the deletion, what we can do here. So that's what they are doing. See, if user dot filter is not equal to yes, that's what they are also doing. Correct. So what they are doing, guys, they are trying to use the filter logic, but in a different way. So what they are trying to do, wherever ID is not matching, like if somebody wants to delete the first record where ID is 1, so what they are doing, rather than wherever ID is not 1, return only those arrays, return only those objects too. Let me show you guys what they are trying to do. So let's take again user array dot filter, and then items. Each items will come to us. Then the same logic, items dot id, but is not equal to user dot id. Sorry, user data dot id. Okay, we haven't taken the user data dot id. User data dot id. Let's take that user data in response dot body. Sorry, yeah. Let's take the user data as a same thing which we have done in the update and post. Same, we will do the same thing here also. So we are not putting any condition here. We just simply and then assign it to user data array only. User data array. So what now this logic is doing, guys? So wherever the ID which we have provided, wherever that ID is not matching, only return those values and then assign it to the user data dot array. I will show you guys. Then simply return at the end response dot send as a message. Simply deletion successfully. Correct? Let's run it quickly. Node cred slash cred.js. We can see in the get API, now we have two records, Rohan Delhi, Raju Kanpur. Now we will use the delete API to delete the Raju. Correct? Let's see. We'll use the delete method. We'll use the same. I'm just writing it again and again, not copying, so you guys can also understand what is happening here. And our code is 2500 slash, we'll use a delete user. Delete user. That's what the name we have given. Delete user. And then in the body, we'll pass one ID to us. ID as a value 2. Correct? Now this ID 2 will come, and now like wherever ID 2 is we will filter it out those elements wherever ID is not 2. So it means ID 1 will come, and then we will just simply assign that the return array and user data array. So let's see. So some error is coming. Let me see what is the error. Assignment to constant variable. Okay, so yeah, we have taken this as a constant, so that's why it is creating problem. Let's take it as a let. Okay. That was syntax error, guys. Let's see it again. Let's see. First, we have two arrays. Okay. Let's try the delete one again. Deletion successfully, right? Let's see in the get. It happens or not. Yeah, we can see Rohan is right now empty. Like the second one, Raju has one to the deletion part. So that's what guys happening here. The logic is wherever whatever ID we are providing, wherever that ID exists, do not return that record. Return only those record where ID is not matching. And then once we got the array, we have just assigned the user data array. And then we are saying message deletion successfully. This is very easy code, guys, to do the CRUD operation. Let me push this code first. Git add, git commit, CRUD operation, correct? Yeah, git push. Let me see. Let me see now comments. If you guys have any questions on that. So guys, nothing to remember here. Guys, nothing to remember here. That was simply Java, like the logic which I was writing. That was very simple array manipulation. And there are many ways to do the array manipulations. In the deletion, like if you want to object delete something, you want to add something. That was very simple things we are doing. But the thing which we need to remember, that is how we are using the array.post, how we are using the array.put. These things we need to remember there. Okay, guys. Let me see you guys in question. Um, I'm late joiner. Can you explain again post and put? See, the post and put are two methods which HTTP provided for APIs. Post is for creation of any resources in server, and put for updation any resources in server. So that's what I showed you both APIs, where we have one array objects, where we have data in array, and we want to add some data in that array. At that time, we were using the post method. I showed you in the postman also. Then in that same array, when we have the objects, we want to update something inside there. At that time, we use the put API. So that's the difference between the post and put. That, and like there is no big difference. You can do the same thing which you have done in the post. You can do the same thing in the like you can do the same thing in the put also. But it's not a good way to write codes. Internally, nobody is seeing, but the backend developers, they are testing it, right? When any senior will see your code, they will tell you that no, you cannot do the updation in post API. That's not the good way. But on the logic level, everything will work. Next question. Explain again put slash update. So, okay, let me explain again. So, what was happening in the update? So, first we are checking that the in the data which is coming from the client side, it should mandatory have ID. Otherwise, we will not be able to update it. Okay. So, if it does not have ID, we are simply returning the error. User ID is missing. Correct. And then once we have the ID, what I did, I find it out the index of that record in the array. And once I find it out the index, I simply uses the object values updation. Very simple way. User data, index, and name. This is that's what I showed you here also. Yeah, when I was showing you into the console, right? Where it was that the Chrome. Is it still open or it is gone? Yeah, it has gone. I showed you, right, how we update simple arrays keys, like object keys. We use them like in the object oriented class. I showed you, right, how can we update the arrays? Sorry, object keys values. So for that, we just need to do dot or square brackets. We need to provide the key. We can update. So that's what we did there. First, we find it out that particular object index in array, and that index was zeroth index in our first scenario. And after finding out the index, we simply pick the key and updated it. So that's what was happening in the update part. Didn't get the delete one. We haven't deleted. We have deleted. See, we have deleted it. See, I showed you in the response, right? This is the get API when we called. Earlier, it was having two things, Rohan and Raju. Let me show you again. Let me run it again. Oh, it was get push is going. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, not correct. Now our server is running. You see, who was that? Ankit, you was there, right? Yeah. No, I think it was Vishal. Yeah. So see, Vishal. पहले क्या हुआ जब हमने गेट यूजर्स को कॉल किया अभी देखो हमारे पास दो रिकॉर्ड्स आ रहे हैं रोहन एंड राजू राइट नाउ वी विल डिलीट द राजू वन so we'll go there we'll pass the Raju IDs and we'll click on the send we can see deletion successfully now if we come back to the get API and now if we click send again you can see the Raju got deleted and how it is happening in the same array we find it out we in the same array we try to filter it out those elements where the ID which we have sent from the client is not matching जो भी आईडी हम क्लाइंट के हिसाब से भेज रहे हैं वो जिस रिकॉर्ड के साथ मैच नहीं कर रही है वो सिर्फ रिकॉर्ड हमें दे दो बाद वो रिकॉर्ड जैसे ही आए हमने यूजर डेटा एरे को फिर से वही नया एरे असाइन कर दिया उस एरे में यूजर आईडी 2 होगी ही नहीं क्योंकि हमने उस आईडी को फिल्टर ही नहीं किया है इसलिए यूजर डेटा एरे now has the one array one entry only that's why we were able to see the one entry that's how the deletion is working let me see the next question guys how often we use CRUD operation in projects? We use very often. Like we do a lot of manipulation in like in all of the projects, and we do not use arrays there. We use database queries because right now we are keeping that data in array. Just for any sample, I told you. But in the real example, in real projects, we keep that data in databases, and then we write queries to update that data. We do not do the array manipulations there. We use the queries to get the data from there, update data in database. These things we do in the real project. Nitesh is saying, I know that, but how implementing projects? If you're talking about put and post, I showed you here, right? This is the difference between put and post. When you are going to create the post API, you need to provide app.post. When you are creating app.put API, you need to use app.put. Apart from there is no difference between the post and put. Okay, Neil? Can put do a job of post? Yes, put can do a job of post. Post can do a job of put. Delete can do a job of put. These are just a way to write things. Internally, it's on you, right? Internally in controller, you have to write things. Put, post, delete can do job of each other. But because why they can do job of each other? Because in the controller, you can write anything, whatever you want. Uh, Jasleen was saying, can okay, that was the only question. Two records you want to add one. So will it be done through push and put? Push and put. Two records you want to add. Uh, I didn't understand Jasleen that question. Two records you want to add. Then why such different methods? See, just for the protocol, when HTTP protocol has come into the like picture, at that time they have decided that we have to go with like for making things little bit better to understand. That's why they have come with this standard. Like for updating things, you guys should always use the put API. For creating things, you guys have to always use post API. For deletion things, we have to always use app.delete. That's what you need to remember every time. But internally, see, internally on the controller side, there is no difference because controller is in our hand. We can do, but we should not do in the real world. We should not do the same things which we are doing the post, in the put, but we can do things. That's what I was trying to tell you. That does filter change the original data in place? No, no, it does not change the original data. We have assigned it. See, in the delete APIs, what was happening? User data dot array, we have filtered it out. हमने यहाँ से filter कर लिया, but हमने जो filter होकर data आया, हमने उसको assign कर दिया user data array में. तो यूजर डेटा फिल्टर ने यूजर डेटा एरे को नहीं चेंज किया, हमने चेंज किया. हमने यूजर डेटा एरे में फिल्टर डेटा को डाला. जो भी फिल्टर डेटा ने हमको भेजा रिटर्न करके, हमने उसको यूजर डेटा एरे में असाइन कर दिया. इसलिए अब यूजर डेटा एरे चेंज हो गया, बट फिल्टर ने चेंज नहीं किया. दैट्स व्हाट आई वांट टू टेल यू. Filter is not changing. That's what we did. It's a JavaScript code. Uh, Please explain delete logic. I have explained the delete logic again. Got it. It had not noticed that we assigned that. Yes, it has assigned it. We have assigned it. When we'll have the break. So I think yeah, we can have the break now, and we can connect back in 10 minutes. They are just protocols. Yes, Joseph. They are just protocols. When we have the huge amount of data, then we use query to manipulate the data. Yes, use the queries. We just not for use also. We can like after this break, we will start. It's like we will start some database part only, and then we will discuss about the. Then yes, on those scenarios, we need to manipulate the data with the queries. It's like a rule, but you obey or not depend on us. Yes, it's like a rule. You obey it or not, it depends on us. Because at the end, controller is on our hand. We have to write the controller. That's why we have to follow it. Okay, guys. So now we can go for some minute break. So right now it's 11:42. So we can come back at 11:55. Okay. We can come back at 11:55. Let me open the timer for 30 minutes. Yeah. Okay, guys. We will back at after 30 minutes. Can you guys hear me now? Yeah, this is the GitHub link. Okay. So now we have all are back, right? So let's start. So let's start the next topic, guys, which is which is going to be so like whatever we have understood till now, like in last class or before last class, that was after upload codes are in GitHub. Yeah, I already uploaded it, Manoj. So it's in the day 7 branch. You have to go to the day 7 branch and you will find everything whatever I did today. Okay. So okay guys, so what I was saying, so whatever I have like taught you till now, so just try to keep that in your mind. Like just try to keep it in back of your mind, because now whatever we are going to understand, that is totally new concept. Okay, the new thing which we are going to access it. Okay, so so till now what I told you, how we are connected in this world, correct? Because we are connecting in the world with the help of APIs. Everywhere we are just calling on APIs, and then we are connected, right? But now we will talk about data. Now in this next topic, we are going to talk about data, and data is also everywhere. We use APIs to transfer data from one place to other places, correct? But data is everywhere. Now some people says that data is a new money, or like information is a new money, correct? Because whoever has more information, that particular person could consider it as a more rich, right? So that's why now yes, that data could be a digital fuel as well. It's not for digital, I think it's digital fuel is right word, but I'm saying it's more than now fuel. It's like money right now. We can say that data is a new money. If you have more data about somebody, you can simply blackmail them as well, or you can just simply be rich. Like what, like most of the thing you can do with the data, because see, it has pros, it has cons, it has both pictures with the data. But the thing which I want to share it today, that data is also similar importance as APIs, because data is most important part when we understood about the websites or anything. Because in the websites and everywhere we are going to display data, we are going to capture data, correct? We are going to do a lot of things with the data only. Like in the Instagram, when we are chatting, those all are data which we are passing from one person to another person, correct? Everywhere it is data. Right now you are seeing this topic and slide, that's also data. Right now whatever you are chatting, that's also one type of data, correct? So what we can say about data, data are like some facts which talks about any objects. If we talk about the user, so the data could be like some facts about user. Like if I talk about like movies, so the facts about movies, that could be data, right? And now we can say that because data is everywhere, and we have to be understood that this data which we are sharing with each other, we need to save this data somewhere, correct? Because if this data is flowing, it's not like that this data is flowing on internet. It has to be saved somewhere, correct? Then only we can transfer from one place to another. Otherwise, see, how are you able to see the older chats? Like in Instagram, once you are talking with some person on the Saturday, or on the like Wednesday, and when you open the Instagram on the Saturday, how you guys are able to see the same chat, correct? How you guys are able to see
your order which you have done on Amazon or Zomato. How you guys are able to see the past things. So that's why all these data we have to save somewhere. Correct? So that's why the new terms come into the picture. That terms is data storage. Okay. So we need to do data storage as well. Otherwise, we cannot track the things which somebody has done. And somewhere data has to store. Correct? Are we good till now about the data? Are we understood the data? What is data? Why we need data storage? As we understood data storage also. Okay, great. As we understood the data storage, so now we will talk about there are some systems. There are some systems which provides us to mechanism. There are some system which provides us mechanism to store these data. There are some system available which provides us a mechanism to save these data. Correct. So the first system which is very old, and it's called file system, which is called file system. And file system we are also using right now in our machine. If you want to save anything in your desktop, you also follow the file system. Like you want to store your music, your videos, your photos, your movies, your files, your code in your PCs. We are still following the file system. In file system, what we do, we create first parent folder. We will say that movies. Correct. Then inside that we will create subfolders. We will say that Bollywood movies, Hollywood movies, right? Or might we can create other folders like my favorite movies, or like these are the movies we need to watch. These folders we will create. Correct. Then in these folders we will keep our movies, or we will keep our files. Correct. That's how we do it right now in the file system. So that's what the first way comes into the picture, that is called file system, where we simply keep our files keep our data in a file structure. Okay. So that's how we start understanding how are we going to store this file system. But there is some problems happen with file system, because the file system is very good when a single person is accessing. Right. This is my PC and I want to access movies. I can easily do that. Correct. I will put all the files according to mine, according to like as I want. I want to keep this movie in this folder. I will do it according to that. But this file system will not work on the client server architecture or in the website, because in the website or in the client server architecture, like millions of users are going to access the same data. Correct. Millions of users are going to access the same data, and then millions of users, like the file system cannot help you there. You cannot manage the same data when millions of users are going to access it. It is best, file system is best when 1 or 2% maximum can want to handle the data, and those scenarios file system is best. But when the millions of users are there, then file system is not best such solution there. Now what would be the problems? So the first problem will happen with the size. Right. See, if we take a small example of like IRCTC websites, let's take a small example of IRCTC website. You want to search some train information, like which is going from Delhi to Calcutta. You want to keep this information. You want to search this information, and we can first we'll take the example of file system. So now there will be one file which will be keeping the information about all the train information, like this will be 2 trains which are going from here to there. This will be one file will be there. Now in the if you are using the file system, first you have to upload whole file, and that file could be lot bigger, because there is not 1 or 2 trains goes. That file could be like 25 or more than 25 GBs, that file. So first you will first upload whole file to your memory. Correct. Then in that file you will try to find it out that these particular like the query which you have provided, Delhi to Calcutta, only those trains you have to provide it, only those train information you have to provide it. That's why you can see how much memory you are losing here, and the operation of searching in your files, that's also not easy. So that's why the first reason the file system is not good for client server architecture, because of their access part or their size constraint. Because everything you need to first bring it to the server or memory, then only you can find it out. But there are other system, there are other systems which only provides you those things which you requested. There are other system, we will talk about those systems also. There are other system which will only give you that much data which only you have requested, not the whole file. Okay, that was the first problem with the file system. So Jaslin was asking, what do we mean by file system? So file system, see, when we want to store our data, so how we related, how we are relating. First we understood data. Okay, data are the facts about any objects. Then we told you we want to store this data. Correct? So for that, we say that we need some storage where we can store these data. Then in that storage, I told you there are some systems which are available to store our data. And the first system which we are discussing is file system. In file system, I was saying that it is best when 1 or 2% only wants to access the data, so they can simply store it according to their use, as we do in our system, in our PC, in our laptop. How we store data according to our wish. We want to create a folder wherever we create, and then we keep the files there, and in those files we keep the data. So this system we called as a file system. Correct? And see, whenever we want to retrieve these data, we always first have to retrieve the files, then from the files we can retrieve the data. So that's what I told the problem, and that file could be much bigger. That was the first problem with the file system. Second problem was with the file system, that you have to provide the attributes. Like in one folder there can be many files. Correct? In one folder we can have many files. Correct? So now, let's take the example of IRCTC only. There could be multiple files in same folder which are going to travel from Delhi to Calcutta. Correct? So now, for finding out the correct thing, you first need to send the file name. You have to send the file name, and you should be knowing the exact location of that file, where in the folder. Like there could be multiple folders, right, where you are residing that file. So you have to know about the folders, file name, then only you can bring that file into your server. But there are some other database systems, there are some storage system where you do not need to do these things. They are very independent. You just need to ask for the data, they will provide you the data. You do not need to pass any attributes there. Okay, in the file system, see, if you talk about simply, okay, take the example of movies again. Okay, somebody wants to find the like older movie of we can say Bhagwan. Somebody wants to find Bhagwan movies. Okay, they have searched for the query Bhagwan. Now in our folder structure or file system structure, what we have done, we have created first, we have to go to the D drive. Like we are saying, like in the drive D we have stored. First we have to know the D drive. Then we have to know the folder, which folder we are going to store. Because in the drive D there could be many folders, movies, documents, study materials, right? So we have to know the exact folder. That folder will be movies. Then inside that movies folder, there would be Bollywood, Hollywood, old Hindi movies, latest Hindi movies, these many folders. So that's why we should be aware of the folders. Now we are saying that there's a Bollywood folders. Now like people creates multiple folder in the Bollywood also. So that's what I want to tell you guys here, that with a file system, the second problem is you have to provide the attributes, you have to provide the values from where you exactly need to get the data. That was the second problem with file system. Okay. Now the third problem with the file system is concurrency. Third problem with the file system is concurrency. Because When in the file system, when 1 or 2% are accessing, that's fine. They know about the folder structure and everything. But when millions of users are going to access the same folder structure, then there are no protocols. Like somebody is reading at the same time somebody is writing, or might be somebody is somebody is writing the old thing because somebody has not completely write it, or might be something got disturbed. So for that, there should be some protocols. Like the protocols are called read write, write, read. At the same time, 2% can only read. At the same time, 1% can only write. These type of protocols should be happen. But we do not have this type of protocol with file system. So this was the third problem which we have with the file system, that we cannot achieve the concurrency here. So this is the third problem which we have observed with the file system. The fourth problem was the security. The fourth problem was the security. Anyone can access, like once see in my machine, once I opened my system and provided the password, now this file system is open. Anyone can access it. Whatever user, whatever you are, anyone can access that. But this is not happen in the real life. In the real life, the admin will see different pages, admin will see different pages, normal user will see different pages. So that's this terminology called role based access control. Role based access control. File system does not have role based access control. So that was the fourth problem with the security, that we do not have role based access control in our file system. Okay guys, that was the fourth problem. And the fifth problem was the redundancy. Redundancy of data. Redundancy means the same data can be replicated. Like if we create one movie, we can copy the same movies in folders multiple times with different names. Correct? Or might be if we talk about if we take the simple Excel file, in the Excel file you can see we can create one row and we can copy paste the same row again and again. So why but in some other database systems, in some other storage system, we have some primary key concept or foreign key concept where they will not provide you to repeat data. So, but file system does not have any of these type of mechanism where we cannot apply any rules, where you cannot redundant the data. You can create the redundancy in the data in file system. Okay. When we have redundancy in the data, our data could be inconsistent as well, because in one folder you have 4 files with some other data, because you can write the same data again in another folder. We can say in another folder we can have the same data, and that could be inconsistent, because you can redundancy always create inconsistency. Okay. Concurrency is when multiple people are accessing the same thing. Concurrency is when multiple people are parallelly accessing the same thing. When multiple people are accessing the same thing, they can perform multiple operations. Like in the database, we can read the data, we can write the data. These two things already happen, always happen. We can read the data, we can write the data. So now if multiple people are doing these things, we should have some constraint. Like if somebody is writing, at that time somebody else should not read, because first write should be completed, then only read should be happen. Because otherwise, if somebody is writing and you are reading in the middle, you will get the inconsistent data, because has written like I am writing, he has just only written I am. At that time you are reading, so you will only get I am. But he has written I am writing, so you will not get the whole data. So that's why in the file system we do not have any protocol where we can put some these type of restrictions. Okay guys, so I think these are many reasons that people for the client server architecture has not started using the file system, because file system had these many problems. But file system is still in the use, like in the our PC structure we can see that though we are using the file system, but the reason for using file system, it's very faster, we can organize according to our ways, and it's good for 1 or 2 people. it means file system has drawback. Yes, file system has drawback. That's why we have moved to other systems. That's why we have thought for creating other systems. Okay, so that's why we have tried to create the other system. Okay, so that's what the problem with the file system. Now let's understand what is database. Now still we are talking about the data file systems also. So the file system is a problem. Now we went to the other way, other things, other systems, and those systems are called database systems. Those systems are called database systems. So that's why we need to understand what is database. Okay, so okay, let me see if there are any question in the file system. When it comes to access the data by many user at time, then we use database. Yes, database provides us some of the features which where we can easily put some constraint while people are accessing your data, or they also provide some additional features like indexing and all those things. But yeah, you can say the database systems are faster, or database systems are only created to remove the drawback of file system. Yeah, that's the best definition you can say. Database system has been created only to remove drawbacks of file system. Whatever the drawbacks we have seen in the file system, we can all resolve with the help of database systems. Okay. Yeah. So now first understand what is database. So database is we can simply define. So guys, whatever we are going to discuss now, like after I think our whole class today, it will be mostly on the theoretical. So try to understand. First we have understood data, then we understood we need to store data, then we stood it, and then we understood for storing data there are some systems. Then we understood the file system. Now we are going to understand the database system. Okay. Now we are before understanding the database system, we have to understand what is database. So database is a collection of data where we can organize the data in a way so we can easily access it or retrieve it or do the operations on it. That's what we are saying here. So we can this is database is a collection of data in an organized manner, allowing us to manage and access data with ease. With ease. So database are those systems where which have collections of data, and now they also provide you a way so you can easily manage them or access them. अब मैनेज में आप क्या करोगे, आप डेटा क्रिएट करोगे, उसको अपडेट करोगे, डिलीट करोगे, वो हुआ मैनेज करना डेटा को. और एडमिनिस्ट्रेट, अगर आप डेटाबेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर हो, अब डेटाबेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर भी होता है, उसका काम होता है यूजर्स बनाना, क्रिएशन ऑफ यूजर्स, क्रिएशन ऑफ रोल्स, एक्सेस प्रोवाइड कराना, प्रिविलेजेस देना किसी टेबल मतलब किसी भी डेटाबेस में, वो डेटाबेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर का काम होता है, वो भी मैनेज करता है डेटाबेस को, हम भी मैनेज करते हैं डेटाबेस को, बट दोनों के अलग अलग काम होते हैं, बट मैनेज सबको करना होता है. तो इसीलिए डेटाबेस सिस्टम एक तरीके से डेटाबेस क्या है, एक कलेक्शन ऑफ डेटा है जो कि हमें प्रोवाइड कराता है चीजें जिससे हम इजीली वी कैन इजीली एक्सेस द डेटा एंड मैनेज द डेटा. Okay, so like and they are again talking about the data, that the data can be facts related to any object such as we already discussed about the data. What is data? So that's all about the database. So primary difference between file system and database. So the file system has a drawback, so those drawback has been removed with the database. That's the difference here. The file system has some drawbacks. We have discussed those drawbacks, correct? So and database has removed those drawbacks. Otherwise, file system and database are, and at the top level, both are storage system. In both places, we are going to store data. In file system, we also store data in the form of files. In database, we also store data. But database provides some additional things, and those additional things are whatever the drawback the file system has, database has removed all those drawbacks. That's the difference between database and file system. Okay guys, let's move further. So these are the components of database. These are the component of database. So for the file system, we know that we need to create we should see. I think for file system also we have the same component. I would say, yeah, some of not, but yeah, some like data, hardware, or software. These three could be for file system also. These three could be files for file system also. See, what is the hardware? For storing things, we always need one hardware, right? Correct. See, if we talk about in our homes also, if we talk about our clothes are data for us. If we want to store them, we have the almirah or cupboard for us, right? So we can say that cupboard is a one database or a storage system. So that cupboard, how we prepare the cupboard? We take some woods and then we provide it. Then we design that almirah in a way so we can easily put our clothes there, and whenever we want we can take out those clothes. That's all. That's the similar concept goes in database also. Database systems are also has been created in a way so you can easily access them. And once the database system has been created, similar way as you were using the boots there, similar way database also uses some hardware. And those hardware could be like you have seen the flash disk, hard disk, right? Pen drive, memories. These are the smaller database, we can say, where we store some data. Correct. In the mobile, when we use our memory card, we store some music into that, photos into that. That's also a small database, right, guys? And you can easily access them. So that's what the hardware is in. So for storage, for database, for storage system, we always need hardware. And those hardware could be input output hardware. This monitor could also be hardware, because in this monitor we are storing some of the things, right? So that's the first component of hardware. Okay. Second component of the database is software. So software provides you the control for managing or accessing that data. Now you have some data in hardware, correct? Now you have some data in hardware, like in the hard disk or in memory. Now you want some software so you can access that data whenever you want. You can update that data, you can delete that data, you can create that data. For that, you need some software. So that's why we say that the second component of data is a software. And the third part, very important part, is the data. In the database or in the storage system, we are going to keep data. So that data is there, data will always be there, right? So data is the third component. And the fourth component is the procedure. So procedure and fifth component is data access language. So first understand data access language. So now once you store the data there, and we need the software, right? So now software is doing the things, but we need to tell the software how what action we want. We need to tell that actions to software. For that, for telling the software what action we need, we have some data access languages for databases. Every database has different languages. So for with the help of those language, we tell to the database systems that I want to do this operation. I want to create. I will use the create language, whatever the language for creation is there. If I want to insert something, I will use the insert language. If I want to retrieve something, I will use the retrieve language. So that's what the data access language is there. We want to access the data with the languages. And then there are some procedures which any database component provides. So the procedure part is similar to where you tell to the data, like where you like provide some advanced things like you want to roll back some database, right? You want to keep the backup of its data, correct? You want to provide some access and privileges. You want to like track all the access and privileges. So for that we have some procedures, because now database which we are creating an advanced database. Now we have to think a database which we are going to create, which should be like we should work for the next 15 generation also. So that's why we have all the things which we have all the components which any database needed. Any database is needed data. Any database is needed software for accessing things. Any database is needed hardware for keeping things. Any database needed some languages for accessing, so that developers can easily interact with that database. Some data so database also needs some advanced things, advanced features. Those advanced features is only used for database administrator. So the procedures, all these procedures which we are saying here, which we are talking here, these all procedures are mostly used by the database administrator, which are on the which is going to like administrate the database there. So they go with the procedure part. So that's all about the component of database. Okay, guys. Now we will talk about the database management system. Okay. Now we have the data. Now we have one database. Correct. Now we have one database. Which database we have the data, we have the software, and everything we have. But now we need one more system, database manage, which is going to manage this system, because now we have things are placed, things are in the place, but now we need one system which is going to manage these things, like the task are data retrieval, data updation, data definition, or user administration, all these things, so we can easily do. So that's why we need one management system. So as you can read here, a database management system is a collection of programs that allows the user to access database and perform manipulation of data efficiently. Correct? So first we understood database. What is database? In the database, we are going to keep our data. Correct? Now, while we are keeping this data, we need some management system also, so we can easily do some of the tasks which are required from our web applications. Correct? So that's why database management systems comes into the picture. There are different type of database management system which exist right now. If we see the list here, let me see the list here. Yeah, these are the list of type of databases or type of database system. Yes, it's a software. It's a software only. Database management system. It's a software in the component of database. That's totally right. It is going to give us access where we can create things, where we can like data retrieve things. We can create the definition of data. We can administrator is. We can update the data. These all operations we can do it here. Okay. So now data management system also yes, database is a collection of data. That's totally true. And database management system is managing the data in efficient way. So we can do multiple tasks. Okay. Database is a collection of data. And we can say database management system is the programs that allow users to access data efficiently. Okay. Now there are different type of database. These these all mostly used based on as the user requirements, as the company's requirement. Like first is a centralized database. So centralized database, all the companies. Centralized data means there is one place only database resides, and now everyone can make request to that database. Only one database is residing at one place because it is centralized. Now everyone can make request to that database only. So mostly I think small organizations, they create their own database, and that database is called centralized database. See, these type of database can be intersect with each other. Correct? Like I will show you some of the examples where, like you can see the database, centralized database and commercial database. These both could be same, because we can say see in the commercial database, what we are saying, user need to pay in order to access the data. Correct? So you see commercial we can say it's little bit different than centralized, but yeah, the commercial database could also be centralized database. Commercial database could also be centralized database. See, the commercial database, they are saying when you want to access something, but you have to pay for access that data. Those database are called as commercial database, and those commercial database can also be centralized database, because the organization, let's take the example of there is one ABC organization or commercial website, commercial company is there, ABC. Correct? Now abc.com has their own database, centralized database. Correct? Own database means centralized data means. Centralized means they only have one database and everyone will access that database. Now, what they did in that database only, they have kept some part for paying. Like when you will pay only then you can access that part. So that part of it, that now that database is also commercial database. That's the difference. And second one is a distributed database. So see, with the centralized database, there is one problem, because there is one server and that is central only. So if that server, if there is one database only, that is central database, and if that central database got failed, Now everyone is stopped. Now nobody can access data. Nobody can do any operation. So that's why the second database comes, distributed database. So what they does there, they have multiple database. Now they have multiple databases. Like if one database is failing, user can still access the other databases. So that's what the distributed database. Which database we are using? We are going to use centralized database only, because we are going to create, because distributed database is costly also, right? Because we have to create multiple databases. So they will it will take multiple price. You have to pay extra. But yeah, they have the benefit. But right now, all the big organization like Netflix or PayPal and all other like PayPal or all other databases like Amazon, IRCTC, I'm thinking they all are using distributed database, because they are now the big, they are now the big like organizations, and they do not want to lose any of their users. That's why they will not go with the centralized database. They will go with the distributed database. Because if centralized database has one problem, right? Centralized database problem, if one time anyhow a centralized database got failed, now you cannot do anything. At that time your user will just get 502 or 500 errors. I told you about the 500 errors, right, from the APIs. So that's why central database has this problem. So that's why distributed database. But distributed database is little bit costly, and you also do not have uniform view, because now distributed database, now you can consider a three database: database one, database two, database three, right? Now if you want to see all the all the database has synced or not, so now this is little bit complex, right? You need to continuously syncing all the data in all three database. So that's why it is little bit costly, and you will not get uniform view at same time. But with central database, you only have one database. You have only one database. You always thinking everything in that database. You will get the uniform view. Whatever current state of data is, you will get it there. You do not need syncing there, right? You are creating everything in single database. But in the multiple database, you need to do syncing. You need to pay some extra money for that. This is the problems. Blockchain also like this, it is decentralized, where every user is a database in itself. So actually, yes, decentralized and distributed. So blockchain also uses a distributed databases there. So they do not like they have multiple databases for multiple users. Whoever has joined into the chain, that person can easily access that database. So that's why the profit of distributed database. Okay, and blockchain is using distributed and decentralized. It's not for the center person. And the personal database is like you are creating your own projects, so you can have one single database with single user. That could be personal database. Today we will create one personal database. I will show you. End user database is, see, we are talking all about the database, but just different terms based on use cases. Okay, so what is end user database? Now there are like some of the admin users, they want to access some other part. They do not want to give that data permissions or database permissions to the lower roles. That's what called end user database, where is specific of the roles of the user according to database. So only data वही data use करेंगे जो जिनका role जैसा है, उस base पे इनको use करना है. That is end user database, and it happens. Some company does not want like admin normal members to access the admin data. It happens. Commercial database, I already told you, when some company is saying that you need to pay to access this data, that database is called commercial database. Relational database is very interesting thing, because in our we are in our projects, we are going to use a relational database only. So the relational database is where we are going to have relational data. And what does it mean by relational data? So relational data means, let me, one minute guys, let me open a new slide. Yeah, so we are talking about the relational database. So let's take employee data. So now this employee data, how can it be relatable? So now employee data will have ID, employee ID, correct? Then employee name, then employee joining date, correct? Then it could have like address, correct? So these are, now you can see these are the data only, correct? But now this data is relatable because we are talking about the same employee. Okay, we can say it's Arpit. Only date we can keep here, right? And then we can put the address. Now you can see this data is relatable, right? What the joining data, this part of information is related to this name, correct? This part of information is related to this particular name. So that's why these type of data is called relational data, where we can make a relation between datas. And when we have these type of data and where we are storing these type of data, those database are called relational database. Or generally in the relational database, we simply has the table type structure. In relational database, we simply has the table type structure. Okay, because in table we have rows and column, correct? So you can see here, for the, like, we can consider this is our employee table, correct? We can consider this as the employee table. Now this employee table will have the columns. So this will be the column: ID, name, joining data, address, and these can be our rows. Now I have created the data for Arpit. Now I have created data for other person also. This would be the second user. It can be Rohan. It could have the 10, same date. It could also have the address. It could have like Delhi, right? So that's how the relational data works. And that's these where we keep these relational data. We say that those database are relational database. Okay, guys. And remember that relational database mostly have the tables. They follow the table structure. So according to every database is no, every database is not relational database. Sometimes we have data where we do not want relation. Like if you talk about the like the logging data where we do not want relation. See, right? See, this is one data table. Where is one employee data, right? Let's create one more thing in the same example. I think then I can explain one better. So let's create like a department data. Okay, department data. Okay. Now you can see there will be department ID, department name, then employee ID. Which employee belong to which data, which department, correct? So now I can say there is IT department and employee ID Arpit belong to IT department. There is like HR department, correct? Now the second Rohan belong to HR department. Now you can see we are creating the relation between data also, between tables also. This is the department data table and above one is the employee data table. So in this case, we can easily make the relation between those both databases, both tables, correct? So we can say this is also an example of relational database. But there are some scenarios like the login data where we do not want to make any relation between two things. We just want to store that data. And on those scenarios, we will not go with the relational databases. Like if we talk about the logging data, like first request has come, request has goes through these things. These are the things we have logged out. Logging, like we were using the console.log. These were the errors. These things are not related to any other things. So that's why. Okay, let's talk about the example. Let's take another example. Let's create another slide. Yes, that is also true. But see, what we can say that like there is some raw data also comes in the logging. That's true. That's totally true. That the login data could be specific to user also. So we on those scenarios we might need some relational things there. But there are some examples like if you talk about the if it okay simply take the like let's take the logging example only. Let's take the example. Let's take again. So now we can say there is one user, okay, who has made the request, correct? it has come to our server, right? Now user has made request for accessing the user data, correct? And it also wants to see the departments of user. Okay, so now in this cases, we went to the relational database table and we bring we done some queries and then we brought the data back. But in the same example, we were also trying to store some logging information. Okay, we are trying to store the logging information, like how the flow was working, how the how the server flow was working. So first logging information would be request URL, correct? Then the second could be like what was the next thing it went, or is there any console.log was there? Multiple console.log could be there, correct? Or at the end, if there is any error, or if we are printing user data, these are some information which we also want to store. And I think these are the information which are not very related to user. I would say this because see, we can relate this with the user also, that this particular user needs this, you should have the logging information. But in some scenarios, we see that we just want to keep our log information just to check like on this particular time, on this particular date, what happens. So at that time, we do not want to make, and see, we only want to make relation when we are going to use it. In some scenarios, we have seen that, in the logging data, you do not need any relation. You can simply keep the user ID in logging data also. You can keep the user ID directly here, correct? And because a lot of data will be stored here in the this part, so that's why I would say that we will not go with the relational data here. We will try to use for any other database which does not have any relation, like NoSQL, like the MongoDB. If you guys are aware about MongoDB, so MongoDB is not a relational database. MongoDB is non-relational database, correct? So in MongoDB, what we does, we simply keep the whole document. We keeps the whole document directly, whole data as a object in the database directly. We do not create the tables there. We do not create any table structure there. So that's the. I will give you one more I will try to find some more real time example and about these two things. Then I will come back to you. Okay on this. But yes, there are some scenarios, guys, where we do not need the relational data, and the better example could be logging informations, or sometime you if you talk about the images or the music or the files which you want to store in database. On those times, we do not need any relational database. We can simply keep in one table, in the user table. In user table, we can simply keep our file ID, like the file image ID, or we can simply keep the image URL, correct? In this case, we can keep the logging ID there. But the logging information, which is very too much informations are there, so we do not need to keep these information in a table structure. We can keep simple all data at one place, and then next time when we want to access, we can simply fetch whole data at once. So that's why the non relational data, it is faster to access also. It is faster to access because we do not need to do we do not need to find or make relation first there, correct? Because in the table, we have to first make relation between the columns, and then we need to do some queries on that. But in the no SQL databases or non relational databases, we generally keep whole document at the database, and then we fetch whole document at once. So that's why like the banking, if you talk about the banking application, they generally use the relational database, because in the banking application, lot of relation has to be created, right? Like the user account ID, then like the money, like the user account ID, then IFC code, and then like the transactions. A lot of things has to happen there. That's why in the banking application, we generally go with the relational database, or like employee database or student database. These are all are mostly the relational database, because here we have to create the relation between multiple tables. But In some scenarios, we do not need these relations. We just want whole data to be captured in one place and faster access. So that's why on those places we use the non-relational databases. Okay. What we do with the data which stores? What we do with this data which stores? Which stores? We just kept it them. I didn't understand your question, Ankit. Can you just repeat it? What we do with this data which stores? They are not dependent on any attributes. The non-relational databases, actually they are like you just need to put the query like if there are 5 documents which you have stored, so you have to find it out like give me this particular document or give me all documents. So this type of query you need to do. Okay, so this is the relational database and non-relational database. Okay guys, and I will create some more example in next class. I will come back to you. Okay guys. Then there is a cloud database and object-oriented database. So cloud database are like you are not installing the database on your machine. You are just using now any cloud services or any virtual environment for accessing the database. Those are called cloud databases. Object-oriented database, I think this could come some picture of the non-relational database with relational database. Correct, where we, because in the non-relational database we purely store the objects, but they here in the object-oriented database, in some scenarios we want to store the object but we want to have some relational structure. On those scenarios we say that this type of database called object-oriented database, where we can say in the table in the row we are storing the objects. I will give you I will create some examples for this also and then come back to you. Like what could be the example for object-oriented database and what could be the better example for non-relational databases. Okay, guys. Then we'll come back to this topic. I will write it down. Yes, such as AWS, Azure. These are the cloud providers, and what type of database they provide? Those databases called cloud databases. Okay, you do not need to install anything in your environment. Okay, now in so now we will talk about one type of database which is RDBMS. Like there are many type of RDBMS database, like Postgres SQL is there, MS SQL Server is there, and MySQL. Now we are going to talk about one type of RDBMS which is MySQL. Okay, where we use the where we use SQL language to write the queries, and we follow here the relational structure. Okay, why we use this MySQL? Why we are using MySQL? Because it is highly scalable, highly available, strong data protection it provides, it's high performance, ease of maintenance, and cheaper compared to other database like PostgreSQL and other. And it's also open source. So see, I have seen in the recent projects, most of the people purchase these database now in the cloud. They do, see, there are two ways to install databases. First, you create your infrastructure, you create your servers and database, and second one, they directly go with the cloud, and the cloud they purchase that database from there. So they in the cloud you will, if you go to the AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, they have all these databases directly installed there. You just need to pay fees. They will provide you some space there. So that's what mostly people do. So that's what I am talking about. One type of database which is going to be MySQL, and it uses. Earlier I told you, right? We need one language to interact with the databases. So MySQL uses the SQL language for interacting with the databases. Okay, guys. So let's talk about the queries which we had, because the now we will talk about the queries in the databases. Okay, guys, because in the databases we have different type of queries. In these queries, with the help of these queries, we only interact with database. Okay, so guys, let me share my screen, and what I did, let me show you. You guys can also do. So I also used, I didn't install the MySQL in my local system. I also use one third-party provider or cloud provider, you can say, to access the database. So what I did, I went to this website, freesql.com, database.com. I'm sharing this with you also. freesqldatabase.com. So once you will go there, freesqldatabase.com, you have to first register yourself. Okay. So first you will have to register yourself. So once you will register, they will provide you login credentials. And like if somebody wants to do it right now, you guys can do it in front of like right now I'm discussing. You can also try it right now. Go to the free SQL database like this. Everyone, go to the freesqldatabase.com and you have to click on the register here. Then you have to provide your email credential. Okay. If you already have MySQL installed in your local system, then do not need to do this process. If you do not have, please do that. And once you will register it, you will get one email. You have to check in your inbox or in the spam. And then you have to reset your password, and then you are able to access it. Then you can simply come to the login screen and do the login here. So what password I did, kept it. Let me check. Okay, I forget. I think I'm a password. Okay. Oh yeah, I forget it. Let me lost. Let me go on the lost your password. Let me stop sharing my screen, guys. Meanwhile, you try it. We'll create one database. Okay, guys. Are you guys trying it? Let me know in the chat. Anyone? Yeah, please try it. Have you guys registered it? I'm just resetting my password in meanwhile. Okay, so you guys have registered it. Have you guys got any email in for registration or for setting a password? Okay, so they are not providing the. See, I am clicking on the last link. Okay, so there is no request. Okay, let me share my screen. You can see this icon, right? The register here. If you will go to the freedatabase.com, click on the login button, and then you will see down the register button. You can do there. Okay. By the way, they are saying I was trying to reset my password. They are saying visit the following address, and we do not have any following address. So I cannot reset my password. Weird. Okay. So do you guys see that? Okay. So check in the. Okay, just if you got the mail, right? I am not getting the mail. I'm getting a mail, but it's not letting me set it. It is not letting me set the password, guys. Okay, so after setting the password, just logged in into that screen. I'm also forgetting my password. Okay, have you guys logged in? You have to check in the spam also. Okay, no problem. We can discuss about that later. Okay, I think we are already at the end of time. So I think we can do this thing only first. Not in spam. Okay, so I think, yeah, you need to wait for some minutes. Because I am the one who is not getting access right now. It's weird. Yeah, that could also we can do. Next class, we can do any other online compiler also. That's also another way to do that. Otherwise, let me just provide you one video. This is the video I watched while I was trying to install it. So I shared with that video with you guys also. Let's look into that video and try to install it. Okay. So I think today we will just stop here, and I would say to you guys, so whatever we have discussed, just read about that, thought about it, and then in tomorrow class we can just work on some of the queries. And the very important queries are DDL, DML, DQL, the starting three one: data definition language, manipulation language, and query language. So if I talk about the on the high level, so in the data definition level, we have the queries for creating a table, changing the table column, or deleting the table. These type of queries we have in the data definition language, where we want to define the table structure. Okay. नेक्स्ट वी हैव द डेटा मैनिपुलेशन लैंग्वेज, जहां पर हम जो डेटा हमने इंसर्ट कर दिया है, अब उस डेटा को अपडेट करना चाहते हैं, डिलीट करना चाहते हैं, इंसर्ट करना चाहते हैं, मतलब मैनिपुलेट करना चाहते हैं डेटा को. सो दैट्स व्हाई वी विल यूज दिस टाइप ऑफ क्वेरीज. ओके. Then we have the data query language, where we want to simply fetch, when we want to simply query the data. So these type of queries will be explained. Only these three categories of language we will use at most of the places. After that, whatever we are going to see, those are administrator level queries, like privilege granted or privilege revoke. These type of queries mostly used by the administrator. And the transaction control, like rollback or commit, these also happen with the transactions level. On the transactions level, like in the database, we also have transactions. In one transaction, there are multiple operations happen. So now those queries also we will use very less. But yeah, we'll see one by like all the query type one by one. But these are high level queries. I will tell you that I will tell you guys that try to look into everything in this slide, and then on the tomorrow class we will just see one example or one query about all these queries. Okay. So could you please explain delete logic? Didn't get that. Oh, sure. Okay. So let's see. This was our delete logic, right? So what we are trying to do here, from the user side, we told that I want to delete this particular ID. Correct? I want to delete ID number 2 from the user we have requested. Now what logic we have written? I am only filtering those data where ID is not 2. Where ID is not 2. So in our array, there are two records. One is the ID 1, one is ID 2. and now I am filtering it out. I give me only those records where ID is not 2. So it will give me only this record, the first one. Correct? Now what I did, once I got that array with only one record, I just assigned the same value to user data array. So now this user data array has been changed, and now it only have the one record where this user ID does not exist. So that's how I'm saying I have deleted this second record. So now only user data array has only one record because we have filtered it out, and after filtering we have assigned it to user data array. Okay. Where to locate the database? Where to locate the database? Ankit is asking. Uh, like, uh, I didn't understand where to locate it. You mean like in your system? How where we locate the database? Because that's why I was not going. Is it asking such as it is asking such as North America? Okay. Oh, okay. Locate. Okay. You can ask about Asia Pacific, Asian Pacific, because we are in the Asia Pacific, right? So you can give the information as the Asia Pacific. Oh, yeah. Uh, we removed ID number 2. Yes, we removed ID number 2 and then we assign that value into the original variable. My node is not working. What is the problem we are facing, Jasmine? What is the error we are saying? What's the error you are facing? I think tomorrow we have, I think, Zoom class, right? Or I'm not sure about doubt class happen in Zoom or where. In Zoom class, you can share your screen also. Yes, doubt session. I think we have the Zoom class and doubts. Yeah, so so you can share your screen, Jasleen, if you still face any problem. Meanwhile, you can let me know what is the problem happening with you. You can share the screen. You can share the screenshots or share the screen here also. Share the message of error. Didn't get the mail. Okay. It could wait for just wait for some more minute, Vishal. Check in spam or somewhere else, or you can like try to do it and again. Yeah, for Joseph it was in spam. For me also it was in spam. Then I make it to like I clicked on not as spam, so then it comes to my inbox. You also guys do that. Make it as a not as spam, so it will come back to the main folder, main inbox folder. So I know today it was like I think mix of theory and practical. So we started with little practical, where we created our Express app. We created different routes. We created something like some middlewares. We done the CRUD operations also. So we have done a lot of things today. Then we understood a little bit about data. In next class, we need to write some of the queries, and then we will take some of the doubts of yours. It shows global minus local are depreciated. Is it not running? It's just like failing after this line, and we are not using global or minus local anywhere. It's weird. So what command you are trying to run? Npm start me. Npm start me. What does it mean? You have to run like node npx start. No. Yeah, no. So simply do node and file name. Let's try that. Is it working for you or not? Node and file name which you want to run. No. npm install will talk about that later. First, try to run this node and file name which you want to run. Is it running or not? Deep is saying he is able to log in PHP. Yes, great Deep. We will do tomorrow queries on PHP admin only. Yeah, Vishal. Okay, guys. So, like, I think, yeah, that's all we had today. So like I'm just looking for the Jasleen answer. Then, and meanwhile, you guys can drop and spend a good evening today. And in the evening, you can read about the slides today or whatever we did. You can do some more practice. Then we will tomorrow see some doubts. Okay, guys. Bye bye. Yeah, Jasleen, you still facing problem? Sure. Oh, welcome, Vishal. I appreciate you like it. I will just tell you now, try to create more and more APIs. You will be very easily familiar with the syntax. Same goes for Aradhya also, if she is still in call. Try to do more practice with the APIs and then you will be more familiar with that. Yes, you will create an app with an NPM init that will create the packet.json, and then you will create app.js file. Then you will run node app.js in the same repo. In a folder, you are creating npm init, right? Running npm init. Let me show you quickly. Just see the here. Let me show you. This is the backend code, right? What we did first in the backend code folder, first I run npm init. When I ran npm init, packet.json comes, correct? Then we created app.js file, and then we started our running. Then we created our server here, express these things, and then how to run this node app.js, node space app.js. That's how. That's what you have to do. Okay. Okay. So let me know tomorrow how that works. What is body in the put? So body is that part where from where we are taking data from client side. From the client side, we are taking some data, right? In the post, put and delete. So that is the request dot body. Whatever data coming from client side, we take it in the body. Okay, Jasleen. So we will see it tomorrow when you will able to share your screen. Okay. In meanwhile, try to look into the Google if you are able to find the error. Okay. Okay, guys. So we'll talk tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye bye.